Thank you. Yes. Okay, yes. So far we have discussed about what is let me share this. Okay, so what is software and why do we need software testing and what are the phases that we have in software testing? And then we discussed about the principles of software testing. And yesterday we were discussing about like absence of error fallacy, right? So just I want to add one more point here. So though you discover any issues on the software, so it's kind of like, if it is not used, it's kind of like unused, then there is no use of testing that particular application. Okay. So though we discover any number of issues and if any issues is masking out, then if you're not using that, if that particular application is not designed as part of the requirements, then there is no use of using that software. So in that case, what we say is like absence of error fallacy. Okay. So these are the 8 principles where we have, and so we need to remember those principles whenever we start with the testing. Okay. Yeah. Guys, I think I need to have that location shared with you, but I need to check with my admin team. So they will let you know the location of it. Okay. Yeah. Do you have any questions for me, guys, from the yesterday's class? Yeah. No doubts. Okay. So today we are going to discuss about software development life cycle. So what are the different phases that we have, and we'll look into each and every phase in detail. So why do we need this software development and how this evaluation has come, like, how it is evolving on a day-to-day basis. And we see that, decade ago, there was a lot of models that we used to have, and every organizations, they used to have this software development lifecycle model according to the requirements. Okay. But now the market is mostly dominating with the agile along with the different methodologies in it. Sorry, guys. So here, when we discuss about software development lifecycle, so what do you generally think about, like, what is software development lifecycle in terms of like layman? Any ideas, guys? Yeah, come on, guys. I need some response from your end. I just want to understand, like, where exactly you stand with this software development lifecycle. Why do we need this? Okay, so let's get into this. So we have a certain set of process, right? So when you are constructing, you see, if somebody is like when they are constructing this building and all, what they do is like they're going to have this prototype or plan defined. Okay, so according to the plan, they're going to move on, like, how this from one stage to the other stage, they just move on to this things, and they are going to complete the construction of that particular building. Okay. So it is as compared to the like, the real thing that we do as part of, like, constructing some buildings or constructing any set of a product. Okay. So here in software we have kind of like, things that we have to have in place. Based on that, it's kind of like, we have some set of rules and we should follow these rules. According to that rule, each and every phases will have some set of rules. So on top of it, then we are going to, work as required based on to design a software. Okay. So for that, we have a software development life cycle. So in this life cycle, we see the what is the purpose of it. Okay. So what is the purpose of software development life cycle? So here you can see software development lifecycle is a framework that defines the steps involved in the development of software at each phases. So it covers the detailed plan of building, deploying, and maintaining the software. Okay. So whenever we want to design a software or have some requirements, which would be like, producing the software, we should follow certain phases. Okay, certain phases or certain steps that we have to follow to design that particular software. Okay, so design in the sense I'm just talking about like the final outcome of it. So for that we have some requirements. We need to have the requirements, and we need to analyze the requirements as we discussed yesterday. So there are like different strategies that we will be looking into it. So one is like strategies from the business. Another one is like strategies from the firms. Firm are like software companies where they are going to follow some certain strategies. Okay, so they may say that they may put some conditions, like we would be working on this certain technologies, and with this within the budget we can design a software, and these are the limitations for us as part of our companies. Okay, so when you see that there are different set of companies which are working on different domains. Okay, so when you talk about JPMCs, or when you talk about like the bigger organizations like Morgan Stanley banks, or you can take like Accenture is like one such company wherein they work in different verticals, like they are going to work for all the domains. Okay, so all the domains, like you can take Infosys, TCS. So these are the companies wherein they are going to work on the domains, like where they have defined. Like you can see that they are into the government sectors, they are into the banking, they are into the logistics, they are into the trade marketing, like stock markets, and they are into the Medicare. So these are the different domains they are going to support. But certain companies you can see, like Wells Fargo doesn't support this all kind of Medicares and all. So it's only work for the banking sectors. So likewise, they will be getting the requirements like only related to that particular domain. So we have to keep all these minds in all these things in our mind. Like if we are taking these things as certain requirements, we have to be a contest, like we should have a some certain test context. Okay, so it's only not for the test context, but the design perspective also we have to consider this. Okay, so here you can see SDLC defines a complete cycle of development, all the tasks involved in the planning, creating, testing, and deploying a software product. Okay, so every model in the SDLC has a different ways of working. Okay, if you take some models like waterfall, it would be like cascading system. What we say is like one after the other. Okay, it's by step to step by like we'll be following step by step. But in case of different models, like we have iterative model, incremental model, and V model. Okay, so in certain models, what we do is like we are going to follow different strategies for that. So let us say if we are working on this waterfall model, this is very traditional and it's very old model. Okay, so it certainly follows all the phases of the SDLCs. Okay, so here if we define this SDLC, so we have to have the complete cycle. So it's like we start from the requirement phase, and then we move on to the analysis, and then we design the application. So that is nothing but we are going to have the architects wherein they are going to design the front end, middle layer, and the back end. Okay, so UI has got some, it's kind of like presentation layer wherein the user would be interacting with the application, and business layers, we can see some sort of calculations. Okay, so if you want to enter some form, or if you want to do some set of calculations, like like anything, it can be like amount, or if you go to a supermarket, what they do is like they are going to check for the items and pricing, make the pricing, and after putting some discounts or something, then you'll get the invoice. That is nothing but the calculations will be performed at the business layers. Okay, we have presentation layer, business layer, and the backend. So the backends are like those are the databases. Okay, so they'll be interacting with the databases, and they get the information from there, and they're going to perform some calculations, and this data will be stored. So it's kind of like a interaction. So we have like we have like client server relations, and then we have like client middle layer and the business layer, as well as like server. Okay, so we have a lot of things in between this. So we say that two-tier architecture or three-tier architecture. Okay, two-tier architecture is like client server, and three-tier architecture would be like interacting with the client, business layer, and the business layer, and servers, and the databases. Yeah, let's go ahead with the other things. So SDLC is a process that defines the various stages involved in the development of software for delivering a high quality product. Okay, so here we have different stages. So from inceptions to the retirement of the product. So retirement is like delivering the production, moving it to the production. Okay. So what generally happens in case of real time is like, yes, we are going to discuss those things as part of our phases, SDLC phases. First, we are going to get the requirements. So these requirements will be analyzed. Okay. Analyzed in the sense that here we are going to check whether these requirements are suitable. Okay. So what we have to consider in case of analyzing the requirements is like tangible and non-tangible, feasible and non-feasible. Okay. So what we say is like tangible is like in terms of monetary benefits, and feasible is like whether it is achievable or not. Okay. So these are the things that we have to consider. But on what basis we are going to analyze the requirements? We are going to analyze the requirement based on the documents. Documents are, we have the client interactions. So we get the customer interactions. And then we are going to do some brainstorm. Brainstorming is like group of people, they'll be sitting like, we can call them as like business analysts or project managers, customers. And then like team. Okay. So team can be a developer or a QA. Okay. So dev, QA. So what generally happens in this case is like requirement phase is like completely they'll be occupied with gathering the requirements from the customer, and so this will be done with the done basically with the help of like business analysts. They'll be interacting with the customers. So customers would be directly involved here in this phase, and they are going to provide the documents. Okay, so documents in the sense requirements will be given in the form of documents. It can be anything. Sometimes you see that over the mail we'll get, sometimes we'll be communicating with them locally, we'll get the requirements. So those all requirements should be drafted. Okay, so the responsibility of drafting all these requirements is like based on the business analyst. So next we have like, guys, 1 second. Okay. Yeah. So here analysis would be done in terms of like, tangible and feasible. So tangible is like whether that particular requirement, everything, whatever we are talking about requirement, project planning, estimations, everything, does it comes under tangible or not? Okay. So if it is tangible, we'll go ahead with that, and we are going to, provide some suggestions to the client also. Okay. So we may like budget may exceed sometimes. So all these things will be considered as part of tangible, and feasible is like whether this particular requirement is achievable or not. So there are a lot of technologies, and customer would require some set of requirements wherein, I mean, like he would be like, demanding for those requirements, but we have to check whether that is feasible or not. Okay. So these things will be done as part of like analysis, and next phase we have like, so design phase. So in this design phase, we got the document. Okay. So what is the base for the design phase is like, we have to have the documents ready for this. Okay. So this is kind of like a basis. So we are going to take this basis and we are going to design now. So when you go for any product, so let us take like if you want to buy a four-wheeler. Okay. So what is your requirement? Based on requirement, you are going to buy the four-wheeler. And we have a lot of brands which are available in the market. And you look at different factors, right? So you'll be looking at the capacity and seating capacity, and then we have like what kind of drive, like what is the transition, like it's manual transmission or it's automated transmission, and size of the vehicle. So everything that you are going to look into. Okay, so that's the thing, but it all will be designed based on the requirements of the customer. Okay. So sometimes what they do is like they are going to conduct some surveys, those who are frequently using their vehicle, and they are going to get those requirements. Okay. So in general, in terms of like motors. So, but how do we get the requirements from the customer? Is the customer anyways, he'll be working in the market, right? So he's like lively exposing his business to the market, and he has got a lot of requirements, as well as like if you have any prior experience. Software companies say would be working on different multiple domains, and they may have some set of experience. So therein they are going to pour this experience, and they'll come off some come up with some ideas, and those ideas will be implemented as part of like requirements and taken as like analysis, and we do the analysis on it and taken as a basis for the design. Okay, so let me go back here and we can go and see what are the different phases what we have. Okay, so next is like purpose of this, like we can deliver the high quality product which as per the customers requirements. And then SDLC has defined its phases: requirement gathering, designing, coding, testing, maintaining. And finally, it's like it is important to adapt to the phases to provide the product in a systematic manner. Okay, so let's see what are the different phases that we have. So first is like you can see requirement gathering analysis, design, implementation and coding, testing, deployment, and maintenance. So it's a continuous life cycle that we have. So whenever we get some product, then we are going to gather the requirement out of it. Okay, so we'll see the phases for it. So requirement gathering analysis. So during this phase, all the relevant information is collected from the customer to develop a product as per the expectations. Okay, any ambiguities must be resolved in this phase one. So here this is very important phase, because if we get the requirements, then only then it's kind of like a basis for us. So we should be clear with the requirements. Okay, so we should not have any set of ambiguities. So all these things should be eliminated in this phase. So next is like you can see business analyst and project manager set up a meeting with the customer to gather all the informations like what the customer wants to build. So sometimes you hear that whenever we have any requirements, like recruitments in the organizations, and if they are working on these requirements, then HR would be telling you that, okay, so what they do is like they'll ask the candidate to get ready to join the organization, because they have got some projects which are there in the pipeline. They would be they would be ready for the development, and they are in the requirement phases. Okay, so this could be this information we could get when we talk to the managers or HR during our interviews. Okay, so you can ask about like what are, if they ask you like what questions, do you have any questions for them, then directly you can ask like what is the phase of this project, or is it's already working, or do you have any kind of new requirements, enhancements coming up, and what are the technologies, and what is the team size and all. So these questions generally we are going to ask during the during the interviews as part of like interview. So in this case, you can come to know that there are some set of projects which are in the pipeline. They have initiated the talks and they are working on the requirement gathering. Okay, so here it says like business analyst and project manager sets up meeting with the customer to gather all the information like what the customer wants to build. So who will be the end user and what is the purpose of the product? Before building a product, a core understanding or knowledge of the product is very important. So this says like we should have a prior understanding of it, or we should have a good domain command. So domain is like, I'm just talking about like domain because see guys, the thing is like product can be anything. Okay, but domain remains same. Okay, so if you say that if we have real estate and construction, so there can be a multiple things in it, right? So we have like we have kind of like apartment standalone buildings, and high-rise skyscraper, high-rise buildings. Then we have a lot of individual house villas and all. So this all comes under like real estate and constructions. But when we talk about like hospital, there we have like diagnostics, and there could be a cancer hospitals. There could be a like gastroenterology. So these are the different departments, but the domain remains same. Okay, when we talk about banking, we have retail banking, we have then we have like capital markets, then we have that stock market. So everything comes under the banking. Okay, so hedge markets, and these are the different markets that we have, but domain comes under the banking. Okay, insurance, when we call about insurance, when we have like personal insurance, accidental insurance, and then we have vehicle insurance. So these are the insurances, but it comes under the insurance domain. Okay, so prior knowledge is very important when we are trying to gather the information from the customer. Okay, so because we need to analyze what is the what are the requirements, and we have to think in terms of both verticals, tangible and non-tangible, feasible and non-feasible. Okay, so once the requirements gathering is done, an analysis is done to check the feasibility. Okay, so this is what I was talking about. It's feasibility of the development of a product. What is feasible? Whether it's possible or not. Okay, we are talking about like requirements. We gather the requirements, but whether these requirements are feasible within the given period of time, within the budget. Okay, in case of any ambiguity, a call is set up for the further discussion. So again, we have to talk to the client, or customer to get the requirements clarified. So once the requirements are clearly understood, the SRS, okay. So this is software requirement specification. So here a technical stack will be built. So we'll be talking about like what set of softwares that we have to use and professionals with the skills, okay, skill set. So whether this skill set is available in the market or do we have the skills already available with us. So here again, the document should be truly understood by the developers and also should be reviewed by the customers for the future references. So here we only talking about developers, but the initial stages, the testers also involved in it, because we will be analyzing the requirements and we come up with some questions and clarifications wherein we have to connect with the customer or project management team to understand the requirements. So this is about the requirement and gathering phase. And then we have like design. Okay? So in this phase, the requirement gathered in the SRS document is used as an input and software architect that is used for the implementation system development. So here the architects, okay, system architects, what they are going to do is like they are going to take the basis, like SRS is like a basis for them, and they are going to design the diagram. So how do they do it is like I'll show you a simple example. Okay. So here you see we have a use case. Okay. So use case. So in use cases, what we call them is like people, those who are involved, interacting with the applications are called users. So we call them as like users or actors. Okay. So this is a person who is going to interact with the module. Let us take this is a banking application. What are the prerequisites of banking application? You should have a customer account with the customer details. Okay. So let us take this is a database. Okay. So there is a server sitting here. Okay. It's a small machine where it's going to interact with the database. So now what is the part of this? How exactly the user would be using this application? So user is going to interact with the module. So this is a module. So wherein user has to provide his login details. Okay, this is an interface. Login. You can say home page, account details. We have types of accounts. Can be savings account, joint account. So again, we have like current accounts. So these are the accounts which are defined. So now this these things will be working as part of like design. You see, actors, actor or user, user server, and this is database. So now what is happening here in this case, you can see actor is interacting with the login module. Login module would be interacting. This is nothing but server would be taking the request and this request will be validated against the database. Okay. So once we get the validations done, so it's like if it is a proper validation, like valid information given, then it will be interacting back to the server. Server will be interacting to the login page and login with the user will be navigated from login to the home page. Okay. So after this, now we got the home page access. Now home page will be accessed by the user. So user is going to select some information. Let us take like he's clicking on some savings account. Now it has to render the page, right? Now this request will be taken to the server and server would be interacting with the database. Again, database will be giving some information. Yes, so we have some details and this details is again written back to the server as a response, and this is going to respond back to the module. That's nothing but the user. Okay, so now it is like it is showing some information, and this information is like the user is navigated to types of account. So likewise, this information will be like kind of like request and response, which is like interacting with the application. So the design diagram would be designed in this way. Okay, now what the developer would understand is like there is a login page. Okay, login module, and we have a home module, and then we have a types of accounts. So in this again we have different things. Okay, so when we talk about like login, so what are the things that they have to look into it? So they have to consider these things. Okay, so what are the things they have to consider? So they have to look into the UI and the technology that we are going to use as part of like UI. So it's kind of like client interaction, client page. Okay. So client page in a sense, just kind of like, now when we have this UI, so we need to give some inputs. Okay. So that is nothing but it's kind of a client. Okay. Client is interacting with the server. So now in this case, we can see a lot of technologies that we have: HTML, we have some JS. Okay. So then we have some C# and then we have some Flex. Okay. So these are the different technologies that will be used to build the UI. Okay. So let us take a real-time example. So I'm just searching for Axis Bank. Okay. See, what you get to see is like this is a UI. Okay. So this is a UI. Now you can see when I click on login. So what is happening now? It is sending a request. So how do you see this request is sent or not? I'll show you. Okay. So now you can see. Just inspect it. See, can you see this here? There's a post request which is sent. Okay. So request. And what is this is kind of like JSON request which is sent. And what is the response that we are getting? So still it is no response available. Okay, let me just take this one. The name and something it is doing. It is showing. Okay. So let us look into this. Some login. Let me refresh this. See now what is happening now? You can see all the requests. That's nothing but I'm just clicking on the request. So clicking on the refresh and the requests are sent. Okay. I can see there is a get method. And what is the response header? Okay, so these are the response headers. You can see what is the type of format. There is the image which it is showing. So you can see response. So this is nothing but the response we are getting from the server. So how this is like, how exactly is it working now? Okay, when you look into this is nothing but a real-time application. Okay, so I'm not using any other application. You can see how exactly we are getting the response from that particular server. Okay, you can see so everywhere it is showing some or the other things. Okay, so has a response. See, okay. So all this information is there in the page somewhere. You can see this is available. Okay, card details are available here. You can see some are the other images which are displayed here. Okay. So how this is coming? This is coming in terms of like bits and pieces. Now, what exactly happens in this case is like, see, when I just enter the URL and clicked on enter, so that is nothing but it is showing the login page. Okay, so this is nothing but the login page. You can see this is login page. Okay, when I click on this login, again I got some different requirements. Okay, so the user, like architect, what exactly they do is like they are going to keep in mind about the requirements that has come from the user, and they are going to talk to them like what are the other things that you want to implement as part of it. Okay, so earlier there were only one page, like when you click on this login page, I'll show you the other application. So here you see we have got directly a login page, but this is like different requirement from the bank, and this is the requirement from the HRM team. Okay, so this is nothing but human resource management. They don't have any specific requirements about they do have a personal login or register login page. These are like different requirements from the Axis Bank. But when we consider the requirement from the HRM, Orange HRM, we have a different requirement. Okay, so we need to be cautious about like what exactly they are looking for, and we have to design the application in certain way. Okay, so now you can see there is like different. Yeah, so we already looked into the response request and response, right? So all these things should be designed properly. Okay, so carefully we have to look into the SRS, and if you have any doubts, we have to discuss with them. Next phase is like this is implementation or coding. So here They are going to take the design document as a base, as we discussed about like what are the different layers that we have. In three-tier architecture, we have a presentation layer, business layer, and we have backend. Okay. So now the developers will be, they'll be picking up this task and they'll be working parallelly. So UI designer, he is going to design the UI, and business layer, he is going to write the actual logic, and DB developer, they are going to create these tables and schemas, structure, everything will be created. Okay. So they are going to write the store procedures and to handle the data. So all these things will be done as part of like the development. So after this development, after this design is taken as a basis for the development, they are going to consider the technical stack. Okay. So they need to, so because of this reason, you see that a lot of hirings will be done, and the recruitment, they are going to specifically recruit the people, those who have, they'll be asking like, this guy should have a JavaScript knowledge, and should be familiar with Flex or some other components. Okay. So which in they can design the UI in a flashy mode. It's kind of like, you can see there are a lot of things that we have to consider when we're looking into the banking application. The look and feel of the application is like very different. Okay. So when we look into the banking applications, let us take, I'm taking Axis Bank. What do you see here? Okay. So this is kind of like look and feel of the application. Okay. So you see some information, which is like, which is like kind of a popular information, which is, which the bank wants to show it to the customer. Okay. So it is showing like, this is the thing that they are providing as, these are the products. Okay. So when you look into the Amazon, here we have a different user interfaces. Okay. All the products which we have available, like, this is the latest products which are available, are trendy products. Okay. So here also they are kind of like, these are the products they are selling as part of banking. These are the products they are selling as part of like, utilities. And if you take any other hospital, let us take Apollo Hospital. You don't get to see all these things. Okay. Here you have a different set of things. Okay. So you can see there's like departments, and they're like, what are the service they are providing. Okay. So these are the different things. When you take about some, make my trip obligations. Do you see the difference here? So how the UI interface is different. This is different. This is different. And this is different. Okay. And here, this is different. Okay. So these all like, based on the different technologies they are going to use. Okay. Some may use like HTML, some may use like JavaScript, some may use like Teletext. So there are different UIs they are going to use it. But these all like, kind of customer requirements. Sometimes customer would say that, okay, we need this set of interfaces, and you use this technology, or do you have any technology stake? Any professional working on this technology stake? Okay. So all these things, there is a team which is residing, like, every customer will have a technical team. Okay. So they are not like, dumb guys, those who can directly go and give this product to someone and ask them to design, but they have the people to maintain it. Okay. So according to the market demands, they are going to pick up the technologies. Okay. So in these terms, we should be like, the firm would be very carefully picking up the people, and they look at the technology stack also. Okay. During the requirements or recruitments. Yeah. Next is like, coding is done. Now testing starts once the coding is completed and modules are released for the testing. In this phase, the development, developed software is tested thoroughly, and any defects found are assigned to the developers to get them fixed. As we discussed, like, we have a phases in testing also, right? We have a testing, test planning phase, test design phase, test execution, and test reporting. Okay. So SDLC is like superset of STLC. Okay. So STLC is like subset of it. So if I call it as like, you can see, so this is SDLC. Okay. The outer part I'm calling as like SDLC, and the inner part, we can call this one as like STLC. So if we are making any changes to SDLC, then we have to make changes to the SDLC. Okay. So let us take, we have planned this whole project to be developed in 10 months. Okay. What is the time period that we are going to pick out? So we don't get any specific time for this guy. So developer, we first, it would be like, consideration of the development. Okay. How much time it would take to complete the development. But where is the testing time? We don't have any testing time. So we have to pick the time from this particular 10 months. Okay. So let us take, like, we are giving the estimations like, okay, 4 months for the testing. Okay. So again, developer says that, okay, we have enough time. Okay. No, not to worry about it. Like, we'll get 20 months. Now we can change our scope. Okay. So it's kind of like, again, we are going to increase our time. We'll say that 8 months. This is nothing but directly proportionate to it. Okay. So if we are making any changes to SDLC, we'll make changes to the STLC. Okay. So this is like, subset, and this is superset. Okay. SDLC is like superset and STLC is like subset. So which is like dependent on. So here in case of testing also, it is similar way. So once we are done with the, like, development done, and then we are getting the build and we have to test that particular build, then what we do is like, we are going to create our test plan. Okay. So we'll create our test plan. We plan accordingly, like who has to work on this, what we have to do on this, and what are the different activities which should be performed as part of testing. Okay. So after that, what we do is like, we'll take the same test basis as like no requirements. So those requirements are like BRS, SRS, and FRS. We'll take them, we'll create the test scenarios, and then after we are going to write the test cases. Once we write the test cases and ready with the build, then we are going to execute them. If we find any defects, then we are going to raise the defects, and we ask the developers to fix it. And again, there is another thing that we are going to follow as part of testing is like, we have to do the retesting and regression testing. Retesting is kind of the testing that we do on the application. Like if we find any defects, then we have to follow the same set of test cases or test steps to fix or to check the fix. Okay. So regression testing is like kind of like, once there are like a lot of requirements which are coming as part of the application development, then what we do is like, we are going to prepare the regression suites actually. Okay. Regression suite is like, we are going to pick up the priority test cases and which are major test cases should be executed on the application, so that we are going to make it as like a set. And whenever we find like, this should be rolled out. Okay. So any new feature is added, or most of the defects are fixed, and we want to, give the new change if we make any changes to the environments. Okay. So if you are moving from .NET to Java, Java to .NET, or any other technologies. So in certain cases, what we do is like, we want the application should be working as expected. Okay. So this is how we'll be managing when we work in the testing phase. So next phase is like deployment here. So once we test it and we say that all the defects are fixed, or there are no showstoppers. Okay. So defects are categorized in different different terms. What we call is like, catastrophic. So which is like showstopper, and we can say that, priority, high priority, and medium priority, or low priority, and high severity, low severity, and medium severity. Okay. So any one of these terms will be considered when we are categorizing the defects. So cosmetic defects are like, low priority, look and feel of the application. So catastrophic are like, we are unable to process further. Okay. So unable to process further. When I just enter the URL and it shows me a 503 or 404 bad request or something. So then we are going to say that this is a showstopper. Yeah. So in case of deployment, what we do is like, once the product is tested, it is deployed in the production environment, or first UAT. Okay. So user acceptance testing will be done. So this is like, production, we are moving the application to the production. Now in this production also, we are going to test it. Okay. So it's a real time. Okay. So when we say that real time, so you can take this application is hosted on this particular server and now it is available. Okay. So this is like real time application. When I say login, I'm just going to, so when I click on this login, so it is redirecting to some page. Okay. High security, or it is saying something. I click back. So this is nothing but the application is hosted now. It's working. Okay. So sign in. Just you see, I have an account here. So it is taking me to the application. Okay. something. Now you can see this is nothing but it is working. When you try to enter something here, like, if you want to log in, just you can click on this login. Have a Google account, directly you can log into the application. This is nothing but real time. Okay. So now we are not testing it. I'm not testing it. I'm using it. So who will be testing? Who will be testing this application? The team which is working for this Axis Bank or Amazon. Okay. So those are like, there also we have a testers, and those testers will be testing this application, but we are a user. Okay. I'm a user. I'm going to use this application. I'm not testing it. Okay. So if I want to order something on online, what I'm doing is like, I'm just placing some order and I'm going to get that. But who will be validating all these things? As a part of testing team in the Amazon, they'll be testing it. So when do they do this testing? See, after the productions, like after the development says that we have done with the development and testing certifies it. Then after, what we do is like, we are going to give it like, it's like it should be rolled out as a product. Okay. So it should be rolled out as a releases to the real time. So in this real time, this is nothing but deployment. We are going to deploy these changes. Okay. We are making some changes and deployment is done. So there also we have a team. Okay. User acceptance testing will be done with the help of like users. Okay. So they act like a user. They act like a user in the organization. And the other thing is like business analyst is like part of the team. They are going to test it. Okay. So business analyst, what they do is like, they are going to use that application as a real-time user. Okay. They are going to put some kind of like, they are going to place the request and see that if it is working as expected. Okay. So all these things will be done at the deployment. So we say that no production testing generally. So in case of UAT, a replica of the production environment is created and the customer along with the developers does the testing. If the customer finds the application as expected, then sign off is provided by the customer to go live. Okay. So this is nothing but after the deployment is done, then they would say that, okay, everything is working. Real-time data will be given here. Okay. Real-time data is given. Like they are going to inject real-time data and they are going to use the application and see that if it is working as expected. And next is like maintenance. After the deployment of the product and production environment, maintenance of the product. Okay, if any issue comes up and needs to be fixed. Okay, so here we already talked about it, right? So production and maintenance generally. Okay, deployment. What is deployment is like production and maintenance. So in case of production here, what they do is like, they are going to deploy those things and they are going to test it. So if we find anything, so who has to fix it now? So as part of like maintenance, what we have to do is like, we have to provide the services. Okay, provide the services to the customer. So all these things will be discussed as part of like, MO is what we say is like memorandum of understanding, statement of work, and service level agreements. So in this agreement, they are going to talk about the maintenance. Okay, so you should not have any showstoppers, but if you are finding any defects in the maintenance, okay, any defects in the maintenance, if you get any new enhancements or because of this new enhancements, or if it is not working as expected, in certain cases, what they do is like, they are going to make some agreements with the firms and they are going to ask them to fix those issues. Okay, so all these things should be a kind of like, valid issue. Sometimes we get, this is very important to understand, is like, if our application is not working as expected in the maintenance phase or in the production, then they are going to sue us. Okay, so is nothing but it's kind of like penalizing. So you see the lot of things which will be lot of news which will be surrounded circulated in the media. So you see that this company has sued this company. That's nothing but they agreed on something and they did not work on that. So in certain cases, what happens? They are going to penalize. Okay, so this is the important phase wherein we have to understand the how the requirement should be, how this requirement should be rolled out, and if you find any major issues, and how do we try to address it. Okay, so here it says like, after deployment of production and the production environment, maintenance of the product, if any issue comes up and needs to be fixed or any enhancement is to be done, is taken care by the developers. Okay, so this we have some agreements. Based on these agreements, we are going to pick up those items. Yeah, guys, we have the different models. Okay, so we have waterfall model, iterative model, incremental model, and V model. So Agile is not kind of a model, but it's kind of like a methodology. We'll be discussing in detail after when we are done with this, all the discussions on like functional, non-functional and everything. Guys, do you have any questions for me, guys?
No, sir.
Are you clear about like what are the different phases that we have in SDLC? Yeah, guys, I'm finding a way to share the slides with you. So just I need to get the access. I'll be checking with admin team. So I'll be providing this uh, slides with you.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks, guys. Let's meet tomorrow to discuss about SDLC models. After that, we'll be discussing about SDLC, and we'll discuss about what are the different types of testings that we have. Okay. Thanks, guys. I'm giving you 15 minutes back. So that okay. Yeah. Thanks for your time, guys.